of you. So once again, a warm welcome to Kinjal. So Kinjal, without further delay,
Yeah.
we would like to hear from you about the human journey from conception to adulthood. What does it mean?
So first of all, I would thank you so much for the warm welcome and the brief introduction. So today I will be discussing about a human baby, that tiny bundle of biological inheritances develops into psychological, emotional, and social being. So the growth of human from an embryo into a fetus and the journey until birth is a complex and miraculous process. At conception, there is straight away a genetic inheritance from both the parties. The newly conceived fetus carries all kinds of biological predispositions and being influenced by it. And depending on one's culture, the developing fetus will hear and remember different sounds. So, a mother's state of mind influences the prenatal environment via the release of hormones. Neither fetus nor children are primed to live in a world of a perfect mother infant harmony. So,
So, how does the influence actually manifest? Like, can you explain development leaps from 9 months and onwards? If you can give us more detail so that for our parent community they can understand uh, from
mhm,
from their point
mhm.
of view. Like if you can.
Yeah, sure. So, see, the process of birth is itself so painful. I mean, on one hand, everybody's celebrating the arrival of the newborn, while on the other hand, baby is completely in trauma. I will explain why trauma. Okay. So just imagine how it feels when one is suddenly pushed out of a comfort zone. I mean, I would like you to just imagine from a baby's, when from baby's point of view, that the baby is safely kept in that womb, everything is provided without any effort, and suddenly it's being pushed out and exposed to the outside environment. And the baby cries unconsolably. So until it's being soothed, the baby then needs a lot of soothness so that the baby calms down. So this experience, this early experience, develops the patterns of emotions, and this is then began to building. The emotions are began to building. Right? So if I won't be wrong if I say that the human infant is born immature and can do little unaided in its first months, like its survival itself requires reasonably constant physical and emotional care. I mean, babies arrive with varied temperamental and genetic potential, while the ways in which adults respond to the babies also varies enormously. Now, just to make it simple,
Yes.
I will give you an example, using two different scenarios.
Okay.
So now in the first scenario, baby is terribly hungry and goes on crying and crying. So the mother comes, picks up the child, then gently strokes and cuddles to calm the baby, and then offers milk to the baby. Okay, now we will go to scenario two, where the baby is terribly hungry and goes on crying. Here the mother comes, offers milk, and goes away. Now, in both the scenarios, hunger is satisfied. But can you see how? I mean, can you see the difference? So, these are the
Yes.
early experiences. I mean, from nappy changing to being fed, bathed, to being calmed, in readiness to sleep. Parents also try to understand their child's emotional and physiological states and communicate that understandings. I mean, even parents are also trying hard to understand why my baby is crying. And infants who are quickly responded without too much parental anxiety, they learn to trust the world, that the world is a safe and reliable place. I mean, their experience, their emotions being managed. This is what they experience. That their emotions are contained, and they also learn to manage their own feelings as if the parental capacity has been internalized. Now, such early experiences of being understood by another facilitate the development of self-understanding. So, children who receive mind-minded attention are more able to reflect on their own and others' emotions. Now, the child's mind literally grows and develops through being thought about. So, if I won't be wrong if I say that, a securely attached child, where the child, securely attached child meaning the child is understood by the caretaker. Okay. So, that child is likely to show empathy. When a peer cries in nursery, they will show that empathy. They will have that empathy because why? They were earlier, their emotions were contained. So now they are able to contain the other's emotions. Now what happens when there is an insecure attachment? Your child might not understand, the empathy, or I would say that it has not developed the attunement. So it is very important to be able to regulate one's emotions and to understand one's own and others' psychological states that requires the kinds of experience. So it is a two-way thing from the parent and also from the child, how much they both are able to understand each other. So this shows in later development.
I think I have, to be very honest, I have a child, but I never thought from that point of view. And I now I
It's,
completely am
it's,
able to
it's
relate that it's not just physical, I mean, providing the or completing the physical need, but emotionally
yes,
taking care of child and creating that
true,
positive
true.
environment around the child is very
Yes,
important, right? And since
yes.
most of the time, first time parents, and it's very difficult because we all are very excited, we
Hmm.
just want to see the positive sides, but all these
Hmm.
things which are happening from psychological point of view, it's very difficult to understand until unless
We have that
it's
understanding.
yes, we have to identify this thing. So totally, like I now I started relating things, so it's good.
Yeah,
I like it's
absolutely.
glad that I have discussed with you. Otherwise, like my child is 6 year old and still
Uh,
I am now I can also relate that its emotional connect is always required irrespective of the age. It's not just when they just born, but the way
true.
they are growing, right? So
Yes.
can you also share the effect of mental health problems of parents? Because at very early stage, we have seen my even myself, I myself have experienced that what exactly how child is reacting and how we are behaving, but we are not able to understand because we are experiencing it first time or maybe
Yes.
second time also. But since we are not aware the true side of it, like what exactly and how our emotions, what exactly emotion needs of child and how we as a parent. So I'm sure that we
Yeah.
go through that mental stress, mental problem, how to
Yes.
solve
Of
it,
course.
what
That
exactly
is.
I'm doing wrong.
Yes. So
So
I mean,
please guide us.
yeah, I understand. I mean, basically, you're trying to say, what are the consequences? Like, if when the child is not understood, and
Yes,
and I would not say like if it is not even the parents' fault at all, because if the parents themselves, they are not that much uh, aware, we can say about the emotional need of the child, then we cannot blame the parent as well.
completely
And
agree.
it like for a very, we can say, I won't I would like, I don't want to use a harsh word like unlucky child, but when a like if there is a child whose maternal its mother is in a depression, then the thing scenario is completely different. Like for the mental health of parents, that actually impacts on the psychological development of even very newborn babies. Like, let me tell you how. Like, see, mothers who are depressed are less able to actually read their baby's signals, and they can be unresponsive. So the mental depression is just one psychological condition. I mean, that can impact on infants, and others include anxiety disorders, like there are borderline personality disorders and eating disorders. So these are few psychological, disorders that you don't know, but maybe the parents might be going through. And unluckily, or unfortunately, the infant is witnessing an anxious mother.
Right.
So what happens is, in this case, the child then develops a disturbed sleep, because the baby doesn't feel that contained or doesn't feel that safe in the environment. So the baby's sleep terribly gets disturbed. I mean, and the cortisol levels then increases. I mean, why? I mean, their experience of life is less satisfying and more anxious because they are constantly witnessing our anxious parents. Like, so then they develop less confidence, and then the impact of this, their unresolved and troubled early lives remains powerful, alive in the way when they approach relationships, and without understanding such processes and intervening, it is likely that such patterns would get passed on to next generations.
Interesting.
Yeah, parents have different capacities, and people live in different social needs with
Right.
different pressures and different advantages. Like, all these factors also influence the emotional and the social interaction as infant experiences. And also, one more thing, like, see, if we see, there is nothing called as perfect. Like, perfect parental attunement is neither
Right.
possible nor desirable. I mean, in interactions, there is a constant, there is a constant matching, mismatching, repairing. It is like happening. So but what happens is, when a parent is able to be sensitive to the infant's state of mind, then infants learn to be active with and interactive partners. And I mean, the law infants learn to be active, and also at the same time, he is able to be interactive. I mean,
So I was talking about like, yeah, so, yeah. So let's say if parents who can read the signals, how first we read the signals, and let's say if we identify those signals, then what are the things that we can do to make sure that we provide healthy environment from psychology perspective, and we make sure that a child is getting proper response. So if how a parent like me who never thought from that point of view, well, yes, psychological, our mental health is reflected on the child behavior, emotional behavior, and emotional conditions, also how the child is reacting. So how we can read those signal and what parents can do in terms of solving this problem.
so, see, sometimes it is difficult for a parents because to read the signal, because even parents are in their head, thousands of things are going on. Like, they might be having a bad day, or like, let me give you an example of the corona phase that we all had faced, right? I mean, let me give you an example of a corona phase. Like, that corona itself was such a tragic experience for everybody, that even like basic earnings was at stake. So in that condition,
Right.
obviously, like, parents were extremely tensed, and in that tension, we are so much into our own, we can say, in our own zone, in that worries, that then it becomes difficult to see the child's signals. Are you getting it? So,
Yes, yes, yes.
as I said, even the parental has got their own issues, and even parents, they try to resolve their issues. But sometimes, unfortunately, there are, so much pressure that comes on the parent, that then it becomes difficult for the parent to then connect with the child. But here, what we can do is, like, for a healthy parenting, it is like, okay, now when when that phase passes, I mean, that difficult phase of ourselves that passes, and then we are, again back to our normal routine. That time we can try to repair with the child. So, and this is also a learning for the child, that okay, there is a downfall, it happens, but then you have to raise. But then you have to come up. Like it is not always a downfall. One doesn't stick to the downfall. So then the parent then tries to communicate. It will be better if parents then try to have a healthy conversation with a child, like saying that yes, I understand that you were literally you wanted now daddy to talk to you, or you wanted now mama to talk to you, but I'm so sorry that day, I was having this thing happened in the office. Or, that day I was really having a very bad day. So I'm very sorry. So can we talk today? This is how
Okay.
parents can then repair the damage
Okay.
done.
So there is always a time, like
Yes.
for parents, if we somehow, not even in day-to-day life also, and not just a
Yeah.
little child, a child growing at every stage, if let's say we, I mean, the way sometime we have behaved badly, I mean, in a bad way, or maybe our mood was not, I mean, we were not in a
Yes.
right mental phase or,
Mhm.
a correct positive environment, we couldn't give them. But on later stage, we can again have a healthy conversation where we can give assurance, we can reassure our child that yes, I mean the time was not right, but today is the right time, and then we can again repair the bond and we can take care of that emotional, I wouldn't say trauma, but yes, for from kids point of view,
Yes.
they might be going through some emotional
Yes.
changes or low, which we can take care, right?
True, true. Yes. Yes.
Earlier you had spoken about parental influences via release of hormones. So
Yes.
can you explain the connection between hormones and psychology? This is very important because sometimes I have
Mhm.
keep on, like I kept on hearing she might be going through hormonal changes post delivery, and
Mhm.
as a father, as a male, it becomes very difficult to understand that something which is not happening inside my body or some chemical which is. So how to react? I mean, sometimes I have taken it
Mhm.
sometime lightly that this thing doesn't happen with me, so how it can happen with you? But again, this is very important thing that everyone should understand this, what exactly this I mean how this, what is the connection between hormones and the psychology?
Yeah. So, so see what happens is actually, each time, when a child is held and soothed by its mother, there is a connection, there is a link being formed in the brain as well. Okay. So then, like it starts very early. I would say the period from the last trimester of pregnancy, okay, to the second year of life, it is crucial. I mean, it is at its peak because the prenatal life, that early life, the brain is producing, 250,000 cells every minute. And there are other, sensitive periods, like particularly in the first 5 years. That is why it is said, that first 5 years is actually very crucial. Why?
Very
Because
crucial.
of, yes, because this all the connections, the links is being formed in the brain. And everything is happening in the brain. The child is learning everything. And also then during the adolescence also some plasticity remains. And something it does remains throughout the lifespan. But those 5 years is actually very crucial. Then parents are psychobiological regulators. They are of developing infant birth and development in infant brains like takes place through experiences such as face-to-face interactions. The parents, they are psychobiological regulators, okay, of developing infant brain. And development in infant brains takes place through experiences such as face to face interactions with an attuned caregiver. Okay. When infants are they are happy in the company of an adoring adult, then this has a physiological effect with the release of hormones that enhance optimistic feelings and in turn forge positive attachments. So the neurotransmitters, are released by terminals and send signals between neurons and other bodily systems. And also there is also a small almond-shaped part of a brain, which is we can say near to pituitary gland, that is called as amygdala. You know, this is already well developed at brain, and actually this is the central, I mean, to emotional learning. Amygdala is a very small, with small brain, but it is the, we can say, the source of emotional learnings. And stress and everything often is controlled by this amygdala. Okay. I mean, particularly in relation to fear responses also. Then there's experience of neglect or trauma, even when not consciously remembered, can affect not only behaviors and attitudes, but also hormonal systems. I mean, the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis is a complex system. I mean, that controls reactions to stress and is linked to the release of adrenaline into the bloodstreams, increasing heart rates, then the blood pressure and the cortisol levels, they also increases. I mean, according to the hormones, I mean, according to the, signals sent through the neurotransmitters. Like when, if a child is receiving, we can say, positive environment, then the positive signals is being sent. And if the child is receiving negative, it is in a negative environment, so then the signals are also sent accordingly. And then children's cortisol levels actually are higher when they are fearful, okay, or subjected to ongoing trauma or anxiety. When the cortisol levels, it actually increases during fear or if there is a neglect. On the other hand, if there is a good or loving experience, then oxytocin is a, hormone which actually promotes warm and affiliative feelings, of good feeling. So this is the
Good feeling.
oxytocin that takes, we can say, that handles this thing. And then the
Okay.
stress and anxiety actually increase desire for substance such as cocaine. If you, notice, while we are stressed or there is an anxiety, there is a craving for certain things. So that, I mean,
Right.
something that occurs less actually. When we feel good, this thing will not occur. I mean, similarly, if we have high confidence, then our serotonin level are increases. And in fact, many, if you see antidepressants, medicine which are given, those antidepressants, what they do actually, they work with the serotonin system. Okay. And low levels of serotonin are seen in people who are more irritable, volatile, and unhappy. So for them, this antidepressants are given so that the serotonin level, it gives boost to serotonin level, and then their mood is uplifted. And also one more factor, that the environmental stress and the lack of emotional regulation actually gives rise to stress reactions. I mean, that are hard to turn off, and they can affect, they have an effect, I mean, throughout the lifespan. So, I mean, we might never erase old experiences and their related brain circuits. But, what we can do is we can build new experiences, we can build new expectations. And there are, of course, I mean, some important windows of opportunity. When big developments take place, the brain is changing more rapidly. I mean, to some degree, learning new experiences and their accompanying brain changes are possible until the end of our lives. I mean, much mental processing actually occurs in an unconscious way. I mean, this thing, I mean, can you imagine so many things are actually happening internally? I mean, the brain is doing so much activity. I mean, we don't even realize. Yes.
Right. Right. I completely agree. Now I can relate.
Yeah.
Sometime like how hormones are impacting. I mean, hormones get produced. I mean, the kind of signals that we are sending to our brain and the signals that we generate. I mean, that comes from the environment that we are. Can if a child, so it's very important that when child is growing and then it's scientifically proven that till the 5 years. I mean to 6
True.
year 85 brain is getting developed, right? So parents,
Yes.
it's a very important point where, if let's say, if for any reason, if we were not able to give them the positive environment, then this is our responsibility to create that positive environment, to reassure our child that we are there, and we should give, I mean, we should make sure that the conversation that we are having, we create that emotional bond. And that can happen only if we will spend more and more time with our child. We will have a more conversation,
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
that they can get reassurance again and again. And the whatever in past, if let's say for any, due to any reason, if child behavior was not right, or I won't say right or wrong, but maybe not what we are expecting, but a healthy.
Yes.
So to create that
Huh.
healthy mindset, we have to reassure them, and we have to create the positive environment. And Kinjal, you talked about this unconscious mind. You said this. So what does that term unconscious mean? Like, I have been hearing about that we have a two, I mean, our brain, there is a conscious brain, unconscious brain. And right.
Conscious.
So please tell us about this unconscious.
Uh,
What do you mean by this unconscious?
I will. I mean, it is actually a very vast, topic, the unconscious mind itself. But I mean, I will try to make it more
Yes, that is,
simpler.
I completely agree.
Yes. Uh, so, now the habits, okay, and the patterns through which people relate to others, like they are often set down like as almost biological or physiological templates. When we were young, and we are rarely conscious of such patterns in ourselves. Like our unconscious mind, they are actually a reservoir of thoughts, feelings, emotions, urges, and memories. I mean, because it has stored all the memories, this unconscious mind. What, like right from the early childhood, in fact, even before that, before the birth itself, the the tiny brain, we can say, it is actually observing, it is experiencing, and everything is, where does it go? Of course, it is going in the brain, it is going in the mind. It is just that, now that we are not conscious of it. And that's why we say it is a unconscious. That is why it is like unconscious. Like, so that emotions, the urges, the thoughts, where does it go? It is actually is going into our unconscious mind. And actually, the reason that they lie outside of our conscious mind is because, most of the contents of this unconscious mind are unacceptable, they are unpleasant. I mean, such as like feelings of pain, anxiety, or conflict. I mean, we don't want to remember the experience of pain. We don't want to remember, but it doesn't go anywhere. It is there inside. We just, try to push it down. We just try to push it, and like we try to suppress it in a way. And we say, "Okay, yes, I am not bothered," but actually we had actually suppressed those emotions, and it then goes into an unconscious mind. But it does, has an influence over our conscious reactions. Like for example, if we had a very, we can say, a very bad experience, a very traumatic experience, we can say, and no one would like to, remember that, remember any kind of a traumatic experience, and we try our best to, push it down. We try our best to engage ourselves in different things so that we are able to forget. And what happens is, when we are doing we are diverting our mind, we are suppressed that experience, and it goes into our unconscious mind. But what happens is, like, for example, there is some small thing which might be connected to that, traumatic experience, and we suddenly get triggered. And sometimes we don't know, Arey, why did I get so triggered? Like a small thing is happening, and we just shout like anything. And then the person says, "But why are you shouting so much?" We don't realize that actually we got triggered by that thing, because that some part of that thing was already there in our unconscious mind. So that, what is wrong with us, or that. But childs are actually, they are very smart. They can engage, I mean, they can gauge through our gestures that we are hiding something or we are trying to manipulate them. So it is very important, look, as far as possible, to be truthful to at least to the child. If you cannot say certain things, then you have to directly tell the child. You are such a, I mean, you are a growing child. You will understand. You will, when you grow up, when you will be grow up, of course, you will understand. At present, you are such a small, tiny, my baby. You will not understand. So that is why I'm not telling you. So you see, this way that the child is understanding, okay, my mom is not lying to me. But
Right.
in the other scenario, if we try to cover that thing, they understand that my mom is lying. And then they also then becomes a pattern. Then they also learn to lie. And then there is a trust issues. Because it is like for them, it is okay, acha, okay, then it is okay. Lying is okay for them then. If lying is not okay for us, then it's the same reflected with the child that lying is not okay that way. And also, one more thing I would like to add. I mean, we parents, we often get into that guilt factor of,
Right.
not being like we can say being available for the child. Like just I would like to add just a few things to the parents that that we all are human beings. I mean, no one is perfect.
Right.
Okay, we all have downfalls. We all go. I mean, we all outburst. We all are. So we cannot be perfect. We cannot be available all the time. And at the same time, it becomes hard when we go into a guilt factor. So it is very important for us parents also to understand that this might be a learning for the child. There is no need for us to go into a guilt trip. If we are cutting off from the child, even that child has the right to experience that also.
Right.
It is not every time. See, if every time a child is crying and we are look available, how the child is going to learn patience then? If every time we are available, so sometimes that cutoff is also important, so that the child learns patience. And how that comes is of
That
course
that is
through reassurance.
yeah, that is
Yes.
very important point of view. Like again, I've never thought from
Yeah.
that point of view. But yes, for parents also
True.
it's very important. We should never
Mm.
get into that guilt trip because
Yeah.
again, yes, child is also learning, and he has a right. That is the best
Mm.
way to learn. So we cannot say that if I was not available, then we do some extra things. Then maybe kites will get into that habit that this was my right, and this is what I'm expected. I mean, child will expect every time if you will behave in certain manner, right?
Yes.
That is completely. I mean,
Yeah.
with that, and I totally appreciate it. So I feel this I mean, we are providing this educational activity, right? And our sometimes parents,
Mm.
they tell us that I just want to give something to my child so that they can play. And then like my
True.
team, and we tell them that it's not about giving something and getting your child engaged. It's about
Mm.
the positive environment when you play with your child, when you do
Yes.
certain activities with your child. The child psychology is getting changed. They consider you as a friend. The bond is being built. They will trust you, and the more they trust you, the more they will open up. The more they will have a, I mean, they
Yeah.
will have a positive attitude. They will have more confidence, and they will
Yes.
always come forward and say things which they might keep. And if they will keep
True.
things
That's true.
within
Yes.
themselves, that will impact them for a, I mean, that will impact their
Yeah.
mental health.
True.
And again, for the same, so again, I wanted to highlight this point that it's not just about giving exploral and activities. You can take
Mm.
you just take out, you make your own activities. If you do not have time, go do some research. If you do not have time, you will find plenty of resources on internet.
Mm.
Just take some
True.
effort, just because this is how we can create a healthy environment.
True, true.
Play is the method where they start trusting people. So more will start behaving positively, and that will help overall development. So it's very important that we take care of this thing at very early stage. As like now, since when we say it, that scientifically it's proven
Mm.
that your child brain, our brain as a human being, our 85% brain will develop. And now for
Yeah.
50% of brain, or I would say 15, we keep on fighting from our age. We learn
Yeah.
in those 15,
Yes, yes. True, true.
during that duration.
Mm.
So the more, right? So the more focus should be at this. So, and I'm sure a lot of parents will get help from
Yes.
this conversation. And
So just,
you know,
last thing I would like to add. I mean, I just forgot to, tell this thing. I'm so
yeah,
sorry. I mean, it's
sure.
such a vast, thing. Uh, so just, just one message to the parents is that as a role, like what is our role as a parent is just we have to nurture the nature. That is the only role for our parents. We really don't have to expect anything from the child. We just have to, nurture their natures. Yes. Each and every child has got
It's
their own nature.
really important
Each and
message.
every
That's
child is
really important.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, that is what I also say most of the parents when I interact with them, that let them learn at their own pace, let them grow in their own sphere.
Mm.
They will eventually, if you will force them, it's there is nothing. Some people say when my child is slow, my child is fast. I mean, it's very, it's a pace actually. And every
Yes.
human being, every individual is different. They are just doing at their own pace. We should respect that, and we
Yes.
should allow them to be in their space and learn accordingly. And that way we
Yeah.
create a beautiful human being rather than force them to achieve something. This will not,
Mm.
there's nothing going to happen.
It
Eventually
will
kids will
not
learn
help in
ABCD,
any
1, 2.
way. Yes.
Yes, yes. So, so Kinjal,
Mm.
I would like to thank you for taking out time for our,
Mm.
for all the parents. So personally, I have taken a lot of points from this conversation, and now
Yeah,
I'll try
I'm
to
glad
implement
that
in my life.
it helped you. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm glad that
definitely.
my knowledge helped somewhere.
Yeah, knowledge is the, I mean, when we share knowledge, that is the best way to make more and more people aware. That is what we believe. And that is the reason we have, we conduct this kind of conversation. We started this initiative, and the only
Mm.
purpose is to help people. So whatever positive
Really
uh,
appreciate
input
the
they can
yes.
take, they will.
Yeah,
So
true.
once again, thank you, Kinjal, for joining us and taking the time from your busy schedule. We will meet again next time with a maybe another topic where you can enlighten our community, all the
Mm.
parents, me, our team, and
Yes,
we
sure.
are keen to learn more from your experience and from you.
True, true, true. Yes, I always welcome. I'm like, I'm ready to share. Like, I always look forward. And I would really
Thank
appreciate
you,
the
Kinjal. Thank you. Have
initiative
a
that is being taken by you. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much
thank
again.
thank you. Thank you, Kinjal. Have a great day.
Yeah,
Bye. It was really nice talking to you. Have a great day. Bye. Take care.
yes. Same to you. Same to you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.